Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob Budd. She's right. I am who she said I am. My family's business is Mudd Advertising. We are 31 years in the business, working with car dealers and manufacturers in the United States. And my presentation today is going to be about tier integration. But it's a different presentation than the one I was going to give. After listening to the keynote speakers yesterday on the shape of the Italian market, and back in 2008, when the crisis began, we had 220 some odd employees. We were the number 2 ad agency in the States. An implosion came. We went from selling 16.5 million units in 2007 to 9 million in 2008. It was the abyss. And people were nervous, people were scared, and not a lot of answers. And sitting in yesterday's keynote, I didn't think it would be justifiable to come and tell you about how we're doing today without telling you what we had to do when we were in your shoes right now. What I'm going to show you today allowed us to not only survive the crisis, but we survived where our competition did not. And today we work with over 4,000 dealerships. We're working with the OEMs. Our business has never been better, but it took a lot of guts and it took a lot of faith to do what no one else was doing 5 years ago. So I hope this presentation is one of encouragement because it can be done. But you have to have a paradigm shift in your thinking and how you utilize media and how you utilize the web and how you spend your money and how you count your traffic. But it can be done, and we're proof of it, and I'm going to show you exactly how we did it. So tier integration. We start at the top with the M's of marketing. Market, we've got to know our market. Who are we selling to? What's our media? What media are we going to use? What is the message we're going to place on the media? Then conversions, right? Leads from the web to the dealership. And then we measure everything, and then we run a gross profit against our money spent for an ROI. So our strategy is called hypercasting. And hypercasting is a word we use. Instead of broadcasting, we call it hypercasting. And it's our utilization of the web in a different manner. So what do we know? We know that 93% of all car buyers go to the internet, right? We all know that. The average consumer is going to spend 11 hours researching vehicles online. The consumers are going to visit an average of 9 websites while doing their research. They're going to visit 3 OEMs, 3 third-party lead generators, and 3 dealer sites. So if we know that everybody goes to the web and they're going to shop 9 URLs, we just got to make sure they shop, we're one of the 9. Does that make sense? Those are pretty good odds. We just have to be one of the 9. And then when they hit our websites, our landing pages, we have to say something different that differentiates our clients from everyone else. Because we work in a commoditized business. A new car is a new car is a new car if you're selling the same franchise. How do you distinguish yourself from your competition? So, again, the 4 M's: market, media, message, measurement. Identify your market, identify your media, apply a message, video, call to action, and measure the results. So, when we send people to our websites, to our landing pages, we engage in video. We don't use static pictures, we don't use text, we use video. Because the car business is an emotional business. And if I just read this presentation, y'all would walk out. Well, maybe you wouldn't, but I hope you wouldn't. But when you bring emotion to it, and that's what a car buying experience is, and you have the opportunity to do it, you need to do it. And that was the dilemma that we were faced with in 2008. Were we going to be in the web building business, or were we going to be in the differentiating business? And we went against the curve, against the tide, and we went to a differentiating business. of telling a story about why we're different, what we have to offer, and then most importantly, call to action. If you go to a static website, there's no call to action. You have to, you got to hope that the person that's reading the website does the call to action on themselves. That's not good strategy. So, this is our purchase path to the purchase. We start with a budget. Where are we going to spend our money? In media. What medias are we going to use? So we know we're driving people to the website, so we call those unique visitors. So we spent money on certain media to drive people to a location on the web, and then we had our message. And I'll show you examples of that. And the message always ends with, do this, call this number or submit this form. Call to action. Was prolific. The digital message was more, had better result than newspaper and print. So you see it 27% from 52%. Well, now it's 0%. Everybody's using the web, right? But what they did is this. They took the same strategy of the newspaper, static pictures and text, and put it on to the web, which is the greatest storytelling machine of all time. It doesn't cost you money to have a message, a video run on the web. It's free. With traditional media, you have to have a charge. There's a charge for time. When you get into the web, you can tell your story. And so I get pretty passionate about this because I see the industry going one direction when what I'm going to show you are factual, quantifiable numbers that say when you can tell a story, you can get people to do what you want them to do. People want to be led. So this was done. So last night I changed my whole presentation. Here it is. But I went back to 2008 when we had to make a decision. When we were faced with what you're faced with right now. Everybody's going on the web and making websites and search and configurations of cars. Well, fortunately for us, we have a studio. And we're like, well, we're not really core. That's not our core focus is to build websites. Let's put video on the web. And we did. And I'll take you through this. But this was one of the studies that we looked at to give us the impetus to go a different direction. So the source is Burrell and Associates. And they were projecting in 2008 to 2012 where the growth was going to be on the internet. Well, they got this one right. And they got that one right. They got this one wrong. It didn't decrease. It increased. They got this right. And they got this right. This is going to, a few more years, give this time, this is going to go down as well because of what I'm going to show you. So this is the old way of media. It was vertical saturation, television and a message, try to sell, radio and a message, try to get someone to come to your store, the internet and hopefully a lead, and then direct mail, a message to come into our store. This is a survey system that we created back in 2004, and it's MIT stands for Mud Inside Track, not the university. That's kind of funny? No, okay. So MIT surveys, what are they? We've got over 186,000 surveys of folks who had just bought a car in a dealership that we work with, and we asked them the same 12 questions of how they consume media. Do you watch TV? Yes or no? Yes. What times do you watch? What are your favorite stations? And we give them to tell us their gender and their age. So now we have a demo. And what it tells us is pretty significant stuff. We know everybody goes to the internet. We all know that. But what people don't know is what gets them to the internet. Right? I mean, how do you know where to go? Google would like you to think that you Google everything. But if you already know where to go, it's like a direction. If I want to go to your house and I don't know where you live, what am I going to ask for? Directions. We use these medias that people utilize, television, radio, direct mail, reach frequency mediums to drive people and give them directions to our URL. Because we know they're going to shop 9. We just have to be one of the 9. So this was from 2006 to 2010, and then this was 2011 to today. They're in the same order. People are creatures of habit. By the time you're 5 years old, you are who you are. Stephen Covey writes a book. It's called The 21 Habits of Highly Successful People, or 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. 21 would be too many. But what he says is, in order to change a bad habit to a good habit, you have to do the same practice 21 days in a row. 21 days in a row to create that behavior. In the States, a person buys a car once every 4 years, 10 years ago. Today, it's once about every 11. It's extended the period of time out. They don't do it enough times to know how to do or search or look at a car. We've empowered people with the tools on the web. They don't know how to use them. How could they? They never do it. We do it all day long. But these folks aren't car dealers. They have different needs. They have different wants. They have different things on their mind. So model their behavior. That's what Google does. You're selling cars. You have people in your showroom. Ask how they consume media. They may tell you something totally different than this, but I doubt it. They're all going to use the web, but they're all also going to use traditional media because it's just there. This was what made the difference to our strategy. So, what's the new way? TV, radio, print, direct mail, digital, all going to one location, a URL, HemiTruckTV.com. The old way of buying media, vertical, saturation, blow out all your money in a 4-day period of time. Last 2 weeks of the month. Today, because we have 15-second TV spots, 10-second radio spots, we can spread our money over traditional media and digital media all month long and stay consistent based off of this. Them telling us, our customers, we have 163,000 surveys of people who buy cars. They tell us when they watch TV. They tell us when they listen to the radio. They tell us how to message to them because we know their demo. And that's how we buy this. That way. So, traditional and digital integration is a must. You have to do it. Now, this was a tough pitch in 2008. People thought I had 3 eyes in my head. When everybody's going one direction, everybody, and one guy's going this way, the guy going this way is crazy. It wasn't easy. It was very, very difficult, but it was the right thing to do. The right things to do are usually the toughest, hardest things to do. We made the change. How to use digital video to sell more cars. Hypercasting is turning the world's greatest search tool into the world's greatest retail tool. I gave this presentation to NBC Comcast people in the States, back in Utah, back in 2008. It was a tough sell. People weren't buying into it. So what is this thing I'm talking about? How do we use media? I think they're going to hit it, right? I do it?
When there were less media sources for people to get their information, your advertising strategy seemed a lot less complicated. However, you still had to figure out the right media to target your customers with. Create an engaging ad message, place it, and see how many people would call or show up. The problem with this type of strategy is that it's not efficient, and you can't fully gauge the effectiveness of your return on investment. And with the convergence of the web, television, and other media, it simply does not work. So, what is a better strategy for auto dealers today? Hypercasting. It's effective, completely trackable, and designed to capitalize on current auto consumers' buying habits. In fact, studies show that nearly 90% of all auto consumers are using the internet in their buying process. And with literally thousands of dealers on the internet, finding the best system to capture more opportunities is paramount. Hypercasting is a unique digital online storytelling platform that utilizes a media strategy that leverages existing client data to assure the best message meets the right customers at the right time. Then, by utilizing the most cutting-edge web analytics, each hypercasting video provides an actionable way to gauge customers' interest. In short, hypercasting takes the guesswork out of marketing by giving you, our marketing partner, the ability to track trends and respond accordingly in real time. What is important to realize is the hypercasting storytelling platform is the only marketing strategy on the market today that provides an organic blend of traditional, digital, and social media. Hypercasting is not just a philosophy. It is a reality, and it works. For example, the Grapponi Automotive Group in New Hampshire launched hypercasting with their 6 franchises on August 18, 2008.
The Abyss.
After 700 days into the program, the numbers speak for themselves. They are real, and the strategy is sound. Every Grapponi franchise experienced a significant increase and combined to show an overall spike of 31% in what many say was the worst economic crisis in the United States since the Great Depression. The Grapponi success story is just one of many that demonstrates the power of hypercasting. It empowers auto dealers to do more with their advertising dollar.
All right, now I do this, I think. Uh-oh. Okay, there we are. So that's hypercasting. It's using video. Now that's streaming here in Verona, Italy. Our server's in Iowa. There's no latency, there's no buffering. That's your own television network that uses call to action, emotion. It differentiates you from your competition. How do I know that? Because there's not one site that I've seen that has video in it. So if your consumers are going to shop 9 and you need to differentiate yourself, this is a great way to do it video-wise. It doesn't have to be our way, but video on the web. I'm sure there are people that can provide that for you. But it's a paradigm shift. And I'm going to show you quantifiable numbers. That's a quantifiable number, Grapponi is, and at the end of the presentation, you're going to see another one. So what does your message have to have? It's got to be engaging. It's got to tell a story. It's got to differentiate your product, and it has to have call to action. How many of you all have children? I have 12 nieces and nephews, so I'm going to use them as my example. Can you tell them just one time to do something? No. You got to tell them over and over and over again. Frequency and with a call to action because you're telling them to do something. People that would visit your site are there for one reason in our strategy, because they have an interest in buying a car. If you don't tell them to buy the car from you and give them a good enough reason to do it, they will buy it from someone else. That's the facts. And when they buy it from somewhere else, they're gone. They're not coming back. Okay, your market's imploded. It is what it is, right? But here's the deal. Not one dealer sold all the cars. They had an increase because we went after the market. We stole market share. When everybody else was like, oh no, woe is me, we got after it. We did what the gentleman said yesterday in the keynote. We attacked the market because no one sells all the cars. And if you can give and deliver a better message, they'll buy them from you. If not, they're going to buy them from someone else, and you'll never get the client back. Emotion, personalization, telling your story. That's what selling is. Italy is the country of passion. And you have static text telling your story? Come on. Find someone that can help you. Find people that can understand how to put video on the web. Find people that just aren't digital, because it's a hell of a lot easier to just be a digital marketer than it is to be a traditional marketer. It's hard. But when you intertwine both, it can be devastating to the competition. You can steal market share. And that's the market you're in. You got to go after it. So, measurement. So we know our market's out there. We're going to go conquest it. We figured out that we have medias, digital and traditional. We're going to figure out which ones work best, because traditional works. And then we're going to create a message that's call to action. It's going to ask someone to do what you want them to do. That's show up to buy a car. And then you got to measure it. Because if you can't measure it, you don't know if it works. You're guessing. In the digital world, there are no guessing. And I'll show you why that is, because of the path to the purchase starts with a dollar amount, a budget, your budget. And at the end of the month, you sold cars, and they all go into a DMS system, right? And in that DMS system, you know who you sold the car to, you know what car you sold, and you know your gross profit, right? So if you know how much money you spent and you know your gross profit, you have an ROI. That's the business we're in, ROI. But if you don't measure it, you're guessing. And if in this market you guess, you die. So, what do we want to measure? We want to measure the show ratio. And what do I mean by that? We know we're sending people to the web, right? And if Google Analytics, whatever, you know how many hits you're getting. Well, how many of those people are showing up at your dealership? Because they can't buy a car on the web. They got to go to your store. They got to go in the F&I department. They got to pay cash, and then they drive away. If you don't know that percentage, you cannot improve. So we look at market, media, message, measurement, and we measure it all. So I went back to 2008 to show this crazy concept that we're presenting today. So up at the top here, this is Keystone Chevrolet. They're a Chevy store in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In 2007, they spent $106,000 and sold 260 cars. 2007, our market sold almost 17 million units. So are you a hero? I don't know. But here's what we did know. Then the bottom sank overnight. And look what happened. He embraced our strategy. Today he has over 8,000 of those surveys. 8,000. He knows what works because they're his customers that just bought the car and filled out the form. In 2008, he had a 33% increase. 33%. People were going out of business in 2008. Just like the gentleman said yesterday, just like your market is now. He believed us, he trusted us. He was a guy that was willing to take a risk, go against the grain, go against what everybody else says. And he did it. And he sold more cars. And then we did it again. And he sold more cars. Mike Foley's been a client of ours for 15 years. Today, he sells more cars than that because he's got 8,000 surveys. There's always a market, and we've stolen it from our competition. So what do we measure? We know we're sending people to the web, so we're not getting as many hits as, banner ads and so forth. But we know what we know what our conversion ratios are. What good is it if you have a cheap impression, but they don't convert to a lead, to a sale that's expensive? So we had 2,183 unique visitors. 391 of them watched the complete video. It's about a minute long. 351 filled out leads. That's a pretty good indicator that those folks want to buy a car. That's about a 99% conversion ratio. It's 10% from the uniques to the videos completed. That is a pattern. That is measurable. That you can improve. But if you're not doing this, you can't. You're guessing and wishing. So I want to know when my spikes are. Because we know when we buy our media. We know when our campaigns launch. We know what spikes in what days. And we can measure it against the message and the demo and the media we bought. And this is real stuff. Campaigns. So what do? We measure everything. And then this tool allows us to rank order the whole year from the best seller to the worst. And look at his top 10 ideas, 103, 94, 90, 89, 87, 86, 82. This guy doesn't have a creative problem. He doesn't have a problem, but we track it. And I get passionate about this because the car business is my family's business. And the car business is what allows us to do wonderful things and employ people. And when we know what works, when some of the industry tells different things, I get passionate about that. Because it's not necessarily true, unless you're measuring it all. If you're working with people that don't allow it all, they're biased to what they do. You have to be holistic to media. You have to be able to measure everything because you don't know what works. We didn't know it worked either until we started surveying folks, but they'll tell you. Another slide talking about unique visitors, page views, clicks, Pearl users, videos completed, mobile sites visited, blah, 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 blah. It's all data that you can aggregate to tell your story, to tell you a story on how to tell your story. So, these are case studies. I'm going to play this.
There are some things only a truck can do. There are reasons you need a truck. But we keep hearing that gas prices have made trucks uneconomical. North Glen Dodge would like to show you a little math that may surprise you.
This is in July of 2008.
North Glen Dodge is currently offering savings on the new 2008 Ram 1500 Quad SLT up to $14,000 off. To receive that kind of savings from driving a car getting 35 miles per gallon would take over 12 years. Kind of amazing to think about, isn't it? You don't need to compromise what you want. The space and versatility of a Dodge truck powered by the fuel-efficient technology of a Hemi V8. Do the math before you buy. Things aren't always quite as they seem. And with 465 new Dodge vehicles and 115 quality pre-owned at North Glen Dodge, we'll have what you're looking for. We're in the business of providing you with the best vehicles on the road and saving you money. Get the job done right. Save up to $14,000 on a new Ram 1500, only at North Glen Dodge. This great offer will end soon. Click the Truck Specials link to find the best deals available now.
Okay, that's the site that we've pushed people to. Now, this guy's objective was he had to sell a lot of trucks because he had 165 of them that he hadn't sold in 120 days. He had never sold since 1972 more than 20 trucks in 1 month. In July of 2008, gas prices were $4. He's trying to sell trucks. He's got 30 grand. His market is selling or spending his biggest competition $200,000. He's in trouble. This is what happened. We spent his $30,000. He sold 42 Dodge Ram pickups. Why? He told the story. If someone wants a truck, do you think they want a economy car? No. They want the truck. But the people who are buying trucks were being told that they can't because they weren't doing the math. But when you do the math in that message and you tell that story, that's what happened. But that story can't be told in text. It can't be told on a piece of paper. You got to inspire the person to say, hey, that makes sense. And they did. So, that campaign ran in 2008. In 2010, the OEMs, the manufacturers, picked up on the concept. We're tier approved with OEMs, with Chrysler, Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota, Honda, all. We never were. In 2008, we weren't working with any OEMs. None. Zippo. Today we work with them all because of that system. But it took a while. It took years of being called the monster with 3 eyes because are you crazy? Everybody else is doing this. Yeah, we were crazy to do what the right thing was. So what do we got? Leads, conversions, Denver zone, 1,299 vehicles sold. 366 of them were Rams. Because we told a story and we asked for the business and they showed up and they bought cars and trucks. Another one, Ram truck again. Unique visitors, page views, site visits, client click-throughs, videos completed, average leads generated. It's all quantifiable. So remember the guys, Grapponi? The one dealer that heard this presentation back in 2008 and NADA? So in May of 2008, they sold 357 cars. They had an ROI of 6-to-1. Last month, they sold 657 units. Their gross profit was $1.3 million. For every $1 they spent, they made 18. I'm going to do that all day long. I'd steal money. I'd give it back, of course, but to get started. That's quantifiable stuff. That's not guessing. That's not Google Analytics telling you got visitors. That's hard cash. And that's the paradigm shift that you have to embrace to get through this mess. Because it'll end, but it's not going to end good for everybody. It just isn't. It did in the States. My sister, her husband was a Chevy dealer. He got what? He got his ticket taken away. It happened to a lot of guys. It happened to Chrysler guys. It happened to Ford guys. It happened to Chevys, just like it has here. But to survive and go forward and steal market share, you can't do what everybody else does. You got to be different. You got to ask for the order, and you got to measure everything. So you have a budget. You know the media you bought. You know how many people, unique visitors, because that's the purpose, driving the web. Message to them, call to action. We know how many of those folks showed up at the dealership because they call our call center, and we set the appointments, and we push it down to the CRM. There are people in this room that do that here. And then at the end of the month, we pull them out of the DMS, and we're able to get an ROI. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks to Rob Matt. Now I'm pleased to welcome Elena Cortesi. She used to attend our dealer day as a PR director. She's now a director of communication of Ford Europe. Welcome.
Buongiorno a tutti, vi saluto in italiano perché sono in italiano. No, mi è stato chiesto di parlare in inglese, quindi la presentazione è in inglese, però per qualsiasi cosa posso sempre switchare, visto che ho questa capacità. So, let's say today, yes, it's here. Okay, good. I will try to drive you a bit around the social scenario. Rob has introduced internet. It's true, digital, but digital is also social. So, what's the challenge of going social? We like to take this sentence from Woody Allen. This is a Woody Allen. Woody Allen is saying 90% of social media is just showing up. What does it mean? It means that everybody expects you to be everywhere. You need to be on Twitter. You need to be on Facebook, on Instagram, and then it's a big chaos. Here, where we are as Ford in social, globally, we have, that's year to date, more than 60 million fans. So in reality, the social media is most probably one of the biggest media environments that we have never seen. But in reality, going social is not only being there. It's the other half that's hard. And here, I'm not wrong on numbers. I know that 90 plus 10 makes 100, but in reality, the 10% missing is weighting much more. Why is weighting much more? Because you have not only to be there. It's not enough to register a page, to be on Facebook. It's being part of the community. Interact with your, with the channel. This is another sentence, very simple. If you wish to persuade me, you must think my thoughts, feel my feelings, and speak my words. It's not something that we have invented. It's not something that anyone. In reality, the first one to use these words was Cicero, more than 2,000 years ago. What does it mean? It means that, being on social, you need to interact. You need to really create a relation with the people you want to talk with. You have not only to push, you have not only to show you. You need to create what we call, the universal language. What is the universal language? Is create strong products or sell strong products. It's engaging content, so you need to do something to engage people with you. You need to speak like them, and then you let them speak. You need to listen. There is a friend of mine is always reminding me that his grandmother, he's always saying to me, remember, you have 2 years and 1 month. Use proportionally. So, this is another interesting slide. It's exactly what is happening in 1 minute on internet. Look at some of the numbers. Internet is such a crowded place. And the stimulation is such an high level that in reality is not simply, I mean, to be there in the proper way, you need to make the difference. There is a recent survey from WordPress that is confirming that we spend an average of 18% of our time on social channels, and we spend less on telephone and watching TV. And this is a big sign for everybody of us. Everybody's there. So now I brought with me some examples of how we can be part of the social channels and create the proper relationship. The examples you see here are made in Italy, but just to remind you, this is a European strategy, so we have done exactly the same things all over Europe. Just a couple of numbers on Italy. The population we are almost 55 millions. Almost 42 millions of the Italians are on internet, and almost 24 million, they are on Facebook. I think that for all of us, this is a great opportunity. It's something that we need to look into. A bit of analysis. Who is on internet? Let's go and see these 24 million. In reality, we have in the age 18 to 34 years. So I don't want to consider the very young. Let's consider the ones that are already, in the age of spending. We have more than 11 million Italians there. 11 millions. And I think the most important data is that in less than 6 months, you have 500,000 growing. So it's really, really, an interesting, and I think it needs to be taken into consideration, because your customers, they spend much more time on internet than everywhere. So just look and try to understand how and you can be there with success. So how we can engage and maximize the visibility on Facebook. At the beginning of this year, we have launched the new Fiesta. So the new Fiesta, the claim was 24-hour. 24-hour was having the aim to say you can be connected 24-hour with us. The reason is because in the new Fiesta we have launched Sync, this new interactive voice control system, through which you can do a lot of things. So the idea was to be on the social channels, to raise a contest, engage with all the fans. And in Italy, for example, the contest was to have a Fiesta for 24 months free of charge at the end of the contest. So how was organized? Very simple. There was a tech drive. Any attendance to the tech drive had to post a photo, content, interaction, and they had to leave a comment on this drive, if they liked or not. Again, create, the discussion. So all the pictures then were going on a mobile application dedicated and an album dedicated. So again, collecting all the data and making all the data available for everybody. Very simple. So anyone who wanted to participate, they were going on the app. There was a dealer localization, so we were involving the dealers. So the client was including his data. Of course, there was the privacy and terms and conditions process, and then the client himself could download a photo and comments that was automatically then posted on the Facebook page in Italy. In case the customer was not having the possibility to take a picture himself, at the dealership there was the possibility to take the picture and then automatically download it together with the comments. Why we have used the dealers was also because centrally, we were not in the position to give a real-time feedback. And real-time feedback is very important. You cannot just lie down questions and whatsoever for maybe 1 day, 2 days. So having the dealer localizations, we had the possibility to give a very, very quick response to any inquiries. And now, of course, the contest has been ended, and the dealer group is still there, so they're still active on the Facebook page, and they're still, growing with the 24-hour and with the new Fiesta. You are asking to me, what about the results? In just 2 weeks, we had more than 2,000 people testing the new Fiesta. You know that in these days it's not easy to have people coming into the dealership and test, or willing to have a test drive. We had almost 2,000 pictures on the Facebook page, more than 5,000 likes, 600 shares, 300 comments, and 150,000 opportunity to see. This means that 150,000 people, they had the chance to see the new Fiesta. And the 24 Fiesta that were, on the contest will be delivered at the end of this month to 24 winners. There will be a ceremony, so there will be a small event, and the event again will go on the Facebook page. So the subject will never end, because then the 24 people driving the 24 Fiesta, they will continuously post their experience with the Fiesta. Fiesta was mainly on the social, but in reality, you can have also examples of how bringing people from your social channel to the reality. We have revealed at the beginning of this year, this is the EcoSport, the new small SUV. It will go on sale Q1 next year in Europe. And we have, revealed EcoSport at Mobile World Congress in February in Barcelona. EcoSport is characterized by the fact that it's not only installing sync, is installing an upgrade of this system that's including App Link, a device that allows you to manage with your voice, with voice commands, all the applications that you have on your smartphone. We know that the most, the most common and popular applications are the ones relevant to music. What we have done an agreement with Spotify. So AppLink is having a special Spotify, application, and all the customers of EcoSport will have the possibility to directly manage with voice command all the playlists they have on Spotify. Okay? What we have done now, because we are in the phase of create awareness and visibility of this car that is not yet on sale, we have done a microsite. We have created the AppLink Night. For the AppLink Night, that's a night that happened in all countries. This is the example in Italy. And on the microsite, all the people could register for the events. The microsite was then fed with a lot of content coming from us and from Spotify. So again, a mix of engaging content, something interesting. They could register. While registering, they were selecting a playlist. Why a selection of the playlist? Because we have the experience that the people on the social media, they like to be part of a group. They like to be part of something that can be created. That's an active role that they want to have, okay? And then, of course, they could attend to the event. Very important thing is feedback. So again, it's not just being there with the page. You need to keep the relation. So we have informed all the people registered 3 days before with a mail with all the instructions how to participate. And the most important thing was 1 week after, there was a follow-up call to collect their comments and again to keep the relation. Don't forget that we need to keep all these people for the time when the car will be on sale in Italy, and it's almost 1 year. If we can go with the video, this is an example of the party that we had in Milano.
So these are some of the ads we have here in Italy.
Sui siti internet di tutto il mondo per dare un po' di pepe alla tua giornata. Sfoglia la News Gallery e scopri le ultimissime su Massimiliano Allegri. Da quando abbiamo fotografato per la prima volta il mister del Milan con...
So as you can see, it was yes, a music party with DJs, etc. But the car was at the center of the stage, and the level of interest of people has been very high. So you have really the possibility to put together different kind of needs and get at the end the outcome that you want to get. Good. This is a last example, and is an example that I love in particularly because it's a way to engage audiences that normally are not part of are not interested in your brand, in your car. And I think in your dealership, most probably someone of you had sometimes this kind of feeling, saying, well, how can I attract people that normally are not interested in the car or not interested in the brand I'm representing? What we have done, we wanted to promote the C-Max 1.0 liter. And we wanted to promote the C-Max, or to give visibility into social channels that normally are not interested in car. What we wanted to place into the food environment, into the travel, so trying to reach people that normally are not interested in reading, about engines and motors, etc. So we have created this itinerary. It's the Milano 2 days on the hills of Tuscany. Very nice, very interesting. These are the kinds of media that we have invited for your information, so you don't see anything of the traditional one. We got people from Wired, we got people from, Menta e Cioccolato, ilbigodino.it, but you cannot imagine the audience that we have been able to reach through all these media. Of course, there was a bit of organization, structure. You need to be structured. So we have done on Twitter 2 hashtags, to exactly give the opportunity to talk about the tour only or about the car. So we have the #CMAX Tour or #CMAX EcoBoost, okay, and then again rewarding. So the blogger who was posting more twists and raised the highest volume of retweets got a Smartbox voucher, and these are the numbers. So we got 25 blog posts and articles, more than 700 tweets, Facebook posts, and over 2 million of people has been reading, about the C-Max 1.0. And to us, this, I can tell you, was not a big investment. It was a different way of using assets that we have and just, repositioning in a different way. I think I have finished, and I would like to thank you, and I hope I've been interesting.